And today we feel lucky and privileged, honored to have Dr. Harvinder Popli ma'am with us as a resource person for their expert words and blessings to share with all of us. Dear participants, this is my moral duty to introduce Madam to all of you. Professor Harvinder Popli ma'am is a director of the School of Pharmaceutical Sciences at Delhi Pharmaceutical Science and Research Institute, State University of Government of NCT Delhi. She is also a director of DPSRU, Innovation and Incubation Foundation. She is an ex-director Ranbaxy Research Laboratory, wherein she was part of Senior Director Management for Strategy, Global Collaborations, Acquisitions and Licensings. She has professional accomplishment of over 30 years of experience in R&D, academics and industry in the field of pharmaceuticals. Madam complete her B.Pharm as a gold medalist from Delhi University in the year 1984. M.Pharm in pharmaceutics with distinction from Delhi University, along with postgraduate diploma in business management, gold medalist from IMS Delhi in 1986. Continued research in novel drug delivery for steroidal drugs and completed PhD from Delhi University in 1991. Awarded prestigious Commonwealth Fellowship in UK to pursue postdoctoral research in Manchester, UK from 1995 to 1996. He started his career in academics in teaching and research from 1991 in the College of Pharmacy, Government of NCT Delhi, a premier institute affiliated to Delhi University. In 2000, moved on to Ranbaxy Laboratories, helped Ranbaxy to acquire innovation products, drug delivery, developments, technologies from international companies across the globe and continue to rise on the corporate ladder till 2013. After a very successful stint in Ranbaxy, advised clients, incubators, and startups for technology valuation in pharmaceutical and biotechnological industry sectors in India and abroad as an independent entrepreneur before moving on as Profession Delhi Pharmaceutical Science and Research University in 2016. As an advisor in the Health Committee of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the FICA Biotech Committee member interacted with governmental agencies to bring out several healthcare sector issues of industry and academia. She is also National President of Society of Pharmaceutical Education Women Forum and State President of Delhi Pharmaceutical Council of Women Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Madam work has recognized at many national and international forums. Some of her notable achievements awards are Lloyd Lifetime Achievement Award, Pharma Ratna Lifetime Achievement Award, International Icon Award, development of first innovative product commercialized by the Anglicane for the Critical Care and Distinguished Services Award in Cardiovascular Sciences from International Medicine and Surgery, Winnipeg, Canada. Madam has written 5 books, 8 chapters in national and international books, 3 US patents, 3 European patents with more than 100 publications. She is also a governing board member of academic institutes and Institute of Directors. So, ma'am, we welcome you in COP BELA family as a resource person of today's topic, healthcare startups landscape in India. Madam, over to you.
Thank you so much, Professor Shailendra, for introducing me. And I have not stopped you so that, I can justify, what we are being talking today. And I'm really very thankful to you for giving me an opportunity. and congratulate you to, to carry out this in this challenging time of pandemic, carry out the AICT programs, all of them. So, once when Professor Shalanda approached me, and then, there were several options. But then, when I was talking to him, I said, let me talk about, the healthcare startups and its landscape in India, because, even prior to pandemic and in challenging times, we had been always talking about that, how the people in our profession, especially in the pharmaceutical sciences, can bring up the product. And whenever, we used to talk about these, startups, or whenever we were talking up that, when taking up a career in a profession, they always come into a mind, because pharmaceutical business is, very resource intensive. So what do we do if we say that we have to start something of our own? So, every time, it just remains as kind of a dream. But with the, coming up of lot of options which the government has started as Skill Up India, Startup India's, that has bring a lot of momentum. And although, it has been hit or affected by this pandemic, because, a lot of these new startups, they were not getting funding, they are not able to, prosper. But at the same time, some of them has got the opportunities also in this time, to do themselves. And there is a lot of investment. And, it's very sad that, we have lost so many lives, and what has been happening in pandemic, and we are not able to, cope up to the infrastructure of the healthcare. So it is more reasons that, we should be working upon and looking forward that, how we can step up and, can put and, put our efforts to do that. So may I go to the next slides? Can you move to the next slide, please? Dr. Shalendu, can we ask somebody to put the next slide?
Please 1 minute, ma'am.
So in the meantime, I'll tell you that when we talk about the startups or startup ecosystems, so each one of us know that, it's very important that, we need to have some kind of a company, something entrepreneurs. And when we are talking about a startup, so that means, we have something in our hand, or some product, some either a service or a product, which we can bring to the market. So that is why, you need a kind of a startups which you had brought. uh, just go back only. So in this supporting one, once you have a startup, the second slide, please. Yeah, even back the existing which we were talking. Yes. When we talk about this, you look into these supporting organizations. What do we need for these kind of startups? So one thing is that, you have a product and you want to go a market. But, as we mentioned that, in a pharma, it becomes very difficult that when you have been coming up. And suppose, just imagine that you are a student and you are doing a research and knowledge institutes like our MPharm students, our PhD students. So when they come up with an idea, and then, they come up with some product which is maybe a kind of a prototype, but sometimes just some initial studies, but, they are coming up with some prototype for which they need to do a preclinical or some clinical. And they might have to, raise some money or raise some fund, that, who would come to in their support. So there are supporting organizations like, the first one is the incubators. Now, a lot of these research institutes and a lot of this university, as I mentioned to you, the government has been promoting, and BIREC has been promoting. So they had, given to the university some fund. So these fund, helps that in the beginning when the entrepreneur is not able to spend his own money. For example, you are making some nanoparticles or something nano. So you don't, immediately has all the infrastructures that, you have a machines to do make a nanoparticles, or to do or a Malvern sizers to check the nanoparticles machines, or to do your in vivo studies, or even the scanning micrographs, or you don't even have some basic diso operators, or whatever you need to make your kind of a formulations. So that infrastructure is being provided by the university. So these incubators, are being supported and being funded by the institutes like a BIREC, which helps you to make this infrastructure, and these infrastructures, will support that. So these incubators, besides giving you the infrastructure, is also giving you some funding, which is called seed funding. And these seed funding, to meet your some chemical charges or something like that. So that is what is the role of the incubators. I'll share with you at the end the incubators, our own model of DPSRU Innovation and Incubation Foundations, where the government has supported us with a 5 crore of fundings, where we had made a infrastructure, for all the students, where they can work in the area of formulations, or a uh, phytochemicals, or a herbal drugs, where they can make formulations. All testing and the formulation equipments is being provided. And besides that, the Delhi government has given some funds. So we are able to give them some seed funding, maybe initial 3 lakhs, and then initial 3-4 lakhs, which they can spend and can register their own company, so that, at the end, they have their own prototype or a product. So that's good. Now, the second comes is the accelerator. Once you have a prototype, you still need a lot of fund. So you are now at the stage that, at least you can tell that what you wanted to do, or what is your kind of a prototype which you wanted to test further. So in that case, you do a pitching, and some there are accelerators, which is being also funded, like IIT has got an accelerator, FIITT. There are several others accelerators, around this kind of area, especially in a pharma or a healthcare sector, which again, also there are some investors, which spend some money into that, and helps you, to grow further and to do some more kind of a testing, so that, it at least you are able to see whether, it's there is a product or there is not a product. Then the mentors are the key part of our supporters, because the in case of somebody is doing at university, their teachers becomes a mentors, who has more ideas. You can have a mentors from an industry, or maybe, mentors in a different fields. For example, you're working in a chemistry area, but you don't know anything about the formulation, so somebody, is mentoring you on the formulations. There is somebody, who is telling about the the financials. There is somebody, who is guiding about the market or a branding. You can have a different mentors. So every incubators, like in ours own incubators, we had tied up with several of the consultants. If you have to pay their fee, it will be too much, but at that time, they are coming and mentoring that. Then comes as the funding organizations. Now, for every development, funds are required. So, initially, it's been funded by incubators or accelerators, or some support by the entrepreneur themselves. But, when you need a large money, then, you are pitching it to the angel investors. So angel investors, give you some amount of money. And then further, these angel investors will see, and after the pitching, they says, okay, this is what spending depending upon that, and then they take you further for the development. After the angel investors, you can go to a VCs or a private equities, if that product is and I'll give you some examples, later in my slides, which tells that how these some of the companies, who have started from an incubator, has reached the equity funding and a VC, and now, reached to the status of even the unicorns. May go to the next one slides. Let me share with you Indian startup ecosystems, a small snapshot which I wanted to give you on Indian startup ecosystems. Indian startup ecosystems is the second largest ecosystem in the world. We can change the slide. And this is the fifth most startup friendly economy in the world. That is, given by the CEO World. And this is, we have 100K startups by 2025, which we are expecting. Uh, can you change the slide, please? Yes. And by 2024, we can have a 3.25 million startup jobs. And we can all say that, in this time of a pandemic, how much is that space or which you requires the job. And there is over $150 billion of funding in the next year is expecting. And to give you an idea, there is a value creations which is exceeding $500 billion by 2025. So some of the snapshots, if you see the current median age of the founder entrepreneur lies is 31 years. So all of you, who have been attending can see that, it is, you don't have to be a 50 years or a 45 years of a age, to have a company which is having a $1 billion of valuation, but something average age is 31 years only. But on an average, there are 12 jobs which is created per startup. So that means 3.5 million jobs has been created. And, this is driving a new India's growth story and add to our job creations in the nations. But, as I mentioned to you that the government is supporting, so there are 36 regulations, when you are coming up with some kind of an industry or some product. So this has been, simplified for the startup ecosystems in India. You had seen there are certain startup hubs, which I also mentioned later in my slides. And looking into the leading sectors in the Indian startup scale, you would say fintech is leading. It's $5.7 billion. Next comes is the enterprise, which is the business platforms, and then third biggest is the health tech, which is 1.4 billion dollars, and then it's e-commerce, the which is the biggest, 11.7 billion, logistics, which is 1.2 billion. And there is a lot of sector diversity, which is through this the Indian kind of a system. So some of the health tech will have a fintech as well with that. May I go to the next slide? So here I'll show you the hub. Where are the hubs? Like for example, this Mumbai. Mumbai is the 30% fintech funding, and there are 800 plus uh, startups over there, and they are B2B 30 to 40%, and the business to consumer is 60 to 7%, and there are $750 million. And the technology focus area, if you see the Mumbai area, is uh, basically is something around in the area of the big data analysis, machine learning, artificial intelligence. And if you look into the Delhi is the base of e-commerce startups. There are more than 1100 startups, and that is again shift. You see B2B or B2C is 30% and 70% ratio, and funding is about $1 billion. And technology is the focus area is again supply chain, logistics, and big data and analytics. If you look into Pune is the emerging health tech destinations. There are 4 out of 10 are the healthcare startups, although there are 300 plus startups, and there are $200 million fundings. And the focus of area is again you see a lot of technology in a health tech, cloud solutions, the internet of technologies, IoTs, which has been there. If you look into Hyderabad, Hyderabad is a hub for infotech destinations, and there are 400 plus the startups, and the technology focus area is also health tech, cloud solutions, inventory management solutions. Bangalore, which is called as the Silicon Valley of India, has a 40% of overall funding with 1300 plus, the highest, the startups in this. And again, the big analytics, the electronic health records, and in the health tech and technology focus areas are are technology based are there. If you look into Chennai is about 60% is the business to business startups, and about 275 startups, And technology focus area, you would see in all, there is a big data analytics. And as you know, very truly, we are a IT kind of a hub, and you would see in that, with this pandemic, even in a health, there is a lot of health tech happening. So that is how we say is that a lot of health tech startups which has been coming up in this sector. May I go to the next one? There are about 55,000 startups which has been launched, and out of that, 41.6 are being DPIIT registered. So we can go to the next slide. So DPIIT registered means it's registered with the Department for Promotion of Internal Industry and Trade. And as I mentioned to about that, there are so many regulations, when you start up any business or any enterprise. So these, when they are registered with the DPIIT, they get a lot of benefits by the state. And there are a lot of state startup policies which gives them the benefit. And there are 63 billion funds which has been kind of raised. And in India today, we have 34 unicorn Indian startups. So just to let you know what is unicorn is, when any company reaches the valuations more than $1 billion, it will be called as the unicorn, right? So because unicorn is the the rarest to find. And now we've seen more and more companies in India, and we were guessing that by 2025 we'll be having more than 100 unicorns, right? And when we say this unicorn, the first unicorn in a health tech is an innovator. Innovator is basically a solution for the Western markets. It has got a medical records, the connection with a pharmacy, and that the healthcare systems, when you look in the Western world, is all paid by the government. So they need to have all those kind of a funding. So with these innovator, maintaining this medical record with the 3.8 million patients, they were able to reduce the cost of about $400 million in basically. So that is how it has received a lot of funding and reached the status of unicorn. And Sunicorn is a new term which has been coined. Something which is the 900 million and about to reach 1 million is called Sunicorns. So there are about 52 Sunicorns in 2022. So soon to become a unicorn status. And if it achieves the 10 billion, it is called as the decacorn. And if it achieves the 100 billion, it is called as the hectacorn. And there are, I was discussing you about the incubators. So there are more than 320 incubators in our country, right? So soon you can find out some incubators where you can start. You'll get the free infrastructures, you'll get a lot of benefits, and even also the mentors, where you can work in that. And there are 47 active venture capitalist firms, which has been funding to these startups, right? Let me go to the next slide. Now I'll focus on a healthcare sector stats in India. So healthcare industry, in India is projected to reach 372 billion by 2022. And as we have seen that the diagnostic market is growing, you had all seen the testing, of the PCR testing or a rapid testing or a blood testing or the scans, which has really, really grown, and this market is growing at even 20.4 was the older figures, it has been now growing, and I don't have a latest figures, but this industry, as we all know, is growing. The Indian market medical tourism was also growing, and there was that 7 to 8 billion it will grow, but this has taken a hit during a pandemic. As you all know, the flights, there are the aviation systems, and with all those kind of a thing, and so much of infrastructure. So this has taken a back seat now. And the market which has been growing is of the telemedicines. There are telemedicines, teleradiology, And there is a company, even we had been talking to one of the companies, me being a part of NGOs and a wiki. There is an organization called the British Association of Physicians of Indian origin. So you might have seen also the news. There are 700 plus uh, such British physicians, who wants to give back to the give back to India. So what they have been doing is they had been the physician rounds. As you all know that there is dearth of now physicians in remote areas, and also the experts. So the newly built hospitals or a hospital beds where there are just a healthcare worker and there is no doctor. So these healthcare doctors virtually, they take a kind of a rounds and tell that this patient has got so and so and so particulars about the blood test reports, and the prescription has been written by those physicians. So they had been actively working with one of the hospitals in Nagpur, and it was a big news that they had been helping. Similarly, there is a American Associations of Indian origin doctors, which has also been helping India, during this. This is all through the telemedicines, and this sector has been growing. So the healthcare information technology market is also expected to grow the 1.5 times from current 1 billion. There are some questions probably I'll take at the end, uh, while I'm seeing into the chat. But so there are a couple of them, I couldn't focus it basically. So I'll certainly, try to answer once I finish. So I have a time slot till what time? It's about 12:30 I'll finish. And then, 15 minutes we'll take the question answer. So another half an hour, I'll just, share you all about it. So let's go to the next slides. Talking about this Indian healthcare sector growth drivers. So, again, we cannot talk about this healthcare sector. What we have been saying is by 2021 end, we should be amongst the top three healthcare markets. No, we have to do, and we have to really do much into that. There is public health spending, which, is also very less, which government of India, is now thinking, and we badly need that. Insurance coverage, we are also there is a rapid urbanizations, and this number, has to grow. So this insurance coverage now, we feel there is a need. This is will be growing. There is a increasing in life expectancy was not a growth driver now. I have specifically kept this because although we have a large populations and there are a lot of issues with the vaccinations and others kind of a area, but once maybe 2 years back this was a growth driver. Now we are struggling because of this pandemic, and there is a rise of healthcare with the medical equipment supply, insurance. These all are kind of a sectors where we have to find out a solutions. There is a rising incidences again of the lifestyle diseases, and God knows what is the post corona effect with a lot of cardiac diseases, and the news of the black fungus and others. So these kind of a diseases which has been growing. So there is lot of things, probably we have to think innovatively by these startups, to offer their offerings in a healthcare product. So let's go to the next slides. So what could be the offering into the startups? What you can do, because many of you, who have been pharmacists, which also I touch base upon towards the end of my presentations, is that how you can add up to, or how you can help with your startups, in these pandemic, or in this need of an hour. Because we always feel that the pharmacists are kind of a left behind, although we talked about a lot of pharma industry. But some of the youngsters, who wants to work and help, how they can help and support through their kind of a startups in there. May I go to the next slide? So this is something which I've been saying about the value creations, and this is the differentiation slowly through the, what you can do is through the product, that a very innovative product. As you had seen, there is a product which has been now launched by the Research Institute, NMAS, in again collaboration with the Dr. Reddy Labs, that you have a product market alone, or there can be a product plus services. There are products like Mylab. There is a diagnostic product, and then is the rapid kit which has been available. That is the product plus services. There is also a need for a product plus service plus informations. Now there is a lot of need of differentiations that we've seen that there are a lot of mental and emotional issues which has also been there. So there has to be some transformation of these information. So there are a lot of apps, and there are a lot of products like a wellness mandala has been created. There is a one startup company who has made the product with that giving the positive radiations and the vibes based on some philosophy of a holistic healing. And also the information in terms of so that you can help the youngsters who would also, and some of the the young one who has lost their jobs also, and their family members also. So you can look at this kind of a distress, and they are certainly in need of some kind of solutions to overcome these challenges. So may I go to the next slides. So there are, towards the technology driven healthcares in India, you would see, we have seen there are a lot of things which has been coming up. Some of these ideas which I've been giving you, there are less invasive diagnostics. There are patient facing mobile apps. There is remote monitoring solutions. As you know that even if you have something with the eyes, you can't go to opticians. So that means even the testing can't do physically. So there is already a technology by which opticians can see the numbers and can deliver your spectacles at home. There are digital platform technologies, and surgical also. The OT, you would see a complete change of scenario. Although in a cardiac patients, we had already seen that the surgical robotics tools which is being kind of used, and there are a lot of ancillary services through that. There are connected devices for the home use, the 3D printing which has been used as a kind of a technology even to make a drug delivery or drug device. AI would see in every sector, but AI in a health tech has become a kind of a necessary rather than a luxury. There are smaller implants. There are a lot of these towards healthcare driven technologies, and there is a lot of opportunities for the healthcare startups. May I go to the next slides? So this is, as I mentioned to you, the growth of telemedicine is number one. There is a number two growth we have seen is the rise of remote patient monitoring, and there is a more focus on automation of any of these technology and handling the healthcare costs. Because as I mentioned to you that one of the startup Indian origin which has uh, achieved the unicorn status, Innovator, has is managing electronic medical records. Although it is not very systematized, and right now they are managing it for the Western countries also, where there is systems which is very systematically done for the insurances, maintenance, and all those kind of a thing, because they already had the infrastructure. Although we'll see the growth in the coming years, and also the growing concerns with the mental health. So there are a lot of this which has been working in this area. So may I go to the next slides? So this COVID-19, has thrown the spotlight on the shortcomings of healthcare, of the healthcare systems. And there are a lot of what we can see is the opportunities in a healthcare startup. So in the next 5 years, India requires so many beds to meet its growing healthcare needs, and there's investment opportunities, and startups will be key to providing the healthcare. And there is one startup in IIT Madras who has been telling that how to build up this hospital. So hospital bed, the technology, what are the parameters, what are the diagnostics, what are the things which has been in. So a lot been happening in a medical device area also. And there is 1.6 billion funding which is raised for the healthcare startups. and total of 300 Indian healthcare startups were created in 2015, and this number has been increasing. So earlier you had seen that the startups were in the area of appointment booking, mobile health apps, telemedicine, wellness area, and data analytics. That is what is the major hubs which we had seen of this the healthcare industry. May I go to the next slide? So the COVID-19 has, thrown the spotlights on the shortcomings of the healthcare sector, and it has amplified the need for a new age digital health solutions and innovations. And we had seen that in the quarter 2, there is a lot of angel investment, which has been kind of a happening. And this was a economic times news, because we now need to increase the healthcare capacity. We need to have a better infrastructures, and we need to have a new age digital health solution, and lot to connect with the community. So the pharmacy, when we are talking about only the making of these medicines or vaccines or formulations, but we had seen that there is a lot of need to connect also through these technologies. May I go to the next one? So this will it's just to give you a glimpse about that total funding in the healthcare startups. As I mentioned to you, the maximum was in the appointment booking, then was in the pharmacy, then was the home health care, followed by telemedicines, monitoring, and others. And if you look into the investments in the healthcare and life sciences, it has been also increasing. And across the health sector, you would see there is a more into pharma, then into a hospital, then followed by diagnostic, and then devices, then biotech area, then wellness. So this is how the potential investment which has been happened. And if you look into as we have been talking about the artificial intelligence, you would see that the top funded, which has been funded, is in India, is in Bangalore, Niramal in IO in Mumbai, VectorDoc in Bangalore again, SIGTIPL in Bangalore, and then Redigen in Chennai. So it is more towards the south and the central western India area, where there is a more of this funding or investment which has been happening. So this we have seen the market size estimates, which is based on the primary and secondary research, and the impact of COVID-19. This will basically catalyze the adoption of the health tech products and the services in India. So it's not just the product; it is the service. So in the initial slides I explained to you, it's either a product plus service, and product service plus its emanation or dissemination on that. Okay, towards this end, now I'll talk about some of the healthcare startups in India, and what is there. Can we go to the next slides? Healthcare startups in India. So as of 2020, there were about total of 5,000 startups in Indian healthcare space, and overall the healthcare startups in India raised to total 504 million, and Indian healthcare market is valued about 372 billion. And should we go to the next one? So what type of a healthcare which has been growing? So these patients want on demand healthcare. There is a 52% of things which has been happening in a web browsing in the world, which occurs through the mobile devices. There are 2.7 billion people worldwide which own the smartphones, and there are 77% of the customers which are going online to the book medical appointments. And if we talk about the medical wearable devices, you would have seen that to improve the preventive medicines, you have seen that 44% of the people feel more in control of their health. So you would have seen there is a popularity of Apple Watch or some other smartwatch, and 80% of the consumers, they are willing to wear these smartwatches. And now that with the smartwatches, you can also take your ECG as well. So 33% of the US consumer regularly use the smartwatches, and and the fitness trackers, which is being kind of used in this one. May I go to the next one? These were the patients' demands. Now the next I'm talking about the physicians and the hospitals. Now the physicians and the hospitals, they need a data insight that what has been happening. So 47% of the healthcare, which is organizations, they are already using this patient data predictive analytics. And 57% of the healthcare companies, think predictive analytics, save them 25% of per year. And the big data market is, expected to reach 15 billion by 2022. And what does this virtual reality helps doctors to get a better training? Now in the pandemic, that every day the protocol is changing, right? So you have this COVID protocol now. This product has to be used in first 7 days, then there is a change in protocol. You would have seen same into a vaccinations, the second dose to be given 4 weeks, then 6 weeks, now 3 months. So because more and more you become a learned, so there is, the more data which you have. So this is only possible, if you have a data analysis, right? Otherwise, you will come to know after 6 months. So there's no use to it. So this medical virtual reality market will reach about 5.1 billion by 2025, and VR visualizations can reduce also the post-surgical pain. And surgeons, who are trained on the computer simulations, they also perform surgeries. 29% of the surgeries, which has happened through that. And artificial intelligence also makes personalized treatment possible. So 84% of the industry leaders, think artificial intelligence will soon transform the healthcare. And AI powered tools market will exceed 34 million billion dollars by 2025. And this startups, has already increased 14-fold since the time, by 2000, since the 2000. Now the key sectors of the healthcare startups, just to summarize, may go to the next slides, is, as I explained to you, is the e-commerce, online pharmacy. There are several examples, sorry, which is very small one, but you can read through, you can Google it. It's NetMed, Zoctor, CTalk, 1mg, PharmEasy, Practo. There are home healthcare services like Surgico, Potia, Healthians, again Zotar, Medwell. There are, connecting healthcare uh, stakeholders like Practo, Surgica, Daily Rounds, YOLO Health, 1mg, Doctorplexes. There are diagnostic services again offered by Practo, SIGTurple, PharmEasy, Achira, Forus, again 1mg, telemedicines, which is also run by CDoc and others. There are a lot of health, wellness, and lifestyle management, NetMeds, PharmEasy, FitPass, GrowFit. You would see that, they are really, really been growing. And if you look into the healthcare startups, there are four or five, which has in 2021 has reached unicorn status. One is the Innovator, another weird, which I had already explained to you. There is also a Misho. Misho is made by, one of the IITians, who has used this tool to sell your products. For example, you made some mask or something and you want some platform, like you sell through Instagram, you sell through, some social medias, but you need some kind of a this. So this is the one, which is to sell your product. There is Inframarket. There is also a PharmEasy, which I mentioned. This has been started by, one Dharmil Shah in 2015. And this PharmEasy was basically, for chronic drug segments. And then, in a chronic drug segments, that any diabetic persons or hypertension persons, need to consult. So they have, put in teleconsultations, the sample collections, diagnostic test. Now this pharmacy is also, raised so much of a kind of a funds, and been also, seen by others. And we've seen that the Amazon, Flipkarts, Reliance, joined together with the NetMeds, and also the 1mg. Now the Tatas are looking to acquire this 1mg to do that. So there's a lot of funding which has been done into a, and lot has been happening into a healthcare startups, which is becoming very, very big. May I go to the next slide. So we all seen that, it's all technologies and technologies. So we have artificial intelligence, there is a blockchain, there is a like big data analysis. There is 3D printing applications, robotics, cloud infrastructure in a health record maintenance, and nano and precision medicines. They are the one, which is taken a front seat, and we see a lot of them over here. May I go to the next slide? So that is the future trends in technologies and in the healthcare startups, as I mentioned to you, and I explained to you, through the various examples, in the area where this technology has been growing. So whatever you had been doing in that, you have to being aware of the fact that, unless and until you use this technology, that will not be a sustainable into the kind of a market, right? May I go to the next slides? Just, before closing, I wanted to, also emphasize on what is the role of pharma startups in COVID-19, right? So since, this is the thing, which everybody is in kind of a mind. So, and this time when the entire world is been slumped, there is a social distancing, business are hampered. So the Indian startups, they are doing good, and these startups are on the rapid growth spree, and they fight and survive, help us to survive during the lockdown period, and it is supporting also the many of the people in the country at the central level and in the district level, and how they are supporting. So few examples which I'll tell you. In the pharma space, I've spoken about it, but just to re-emphasize, go to the next slides. There's the e-pharmacy startup. This has become backbone of all the cities under the lockdown, because you can't just go to the market. So there are online pharmacies like Innovator, which is the first healthcare unicorn in India. There's a MedLife, 1mg, PharmEasy. They are providing a contactless home delivery of medicines in bulk in different types of medicine on one platform, and also given the online prescription services with the registered set of the doctors. And also the e-pharmacies like MedLife, 1mg, and PharmEasy have their own respective app that send frequent reminders to your medicines, because the most effective is that who has been with the older age populations, the pregnant women, and who has to keep track of their health and go on in these busy times. May go to the next slides. There are a startup like Agva Healthcare, which has been, we have seen that there was a lot of shortages of the ventilator in the first wave, and also in a second wave, we have seen that the hospital was not having the enough ventilators. So this startup was making with the ICMR, was making a kind of a ventilator. So they had made a very economic ventilator, so which is mostly on a medical support. So it is better than nothing. So thus, so far, the startup has been supplying ventilators to major government hospital like AIMS, Safdarjung, and the entire workforce. And the money control report is that we're able to make a current capacity of 150 units to 12,000 units. May I go to the next one? You must be all hearing about the Mylab test kits, which is the rapid analysis. And till date, the PCR kits, and the RT-PCR, as you know, was taking more of the time. And so this is now been approved, and soon it will be a reality that at your own home, you can test it. So there is no risk of that, you will catch COVID, while you're going even for the testing with that. So that will be the sum, which will also help to control this pandemic, where you can able to do the testings. The next one is the global mask, N95 face mask. So there are NanoClean global masks, which is also made by NanoClean Global Private. And you had seen that, in a market, there were a lot of face masks which has come just with a cloth, just with the decorative. So the people are wearing the same dress and the same cloth without even thinking that, whether it's giving a protection or not. Now I think there is an advisory which has been come, and they said you double mask yourself and then use the mask which works and it works for more than 80 hours and 99% protection with this. So this has been sandwiched inside the mask. So this nanofiber mask is also made by this startup. There is also a robotic large area sanitization. May go to the next one. So I'll just giving few examples so that you get some ideas. Like adverb technology. So this we've seen in the malls like hospitals, quarantine centers, railway stations. They are producing 4 to 5 robots per day. And this company is in Noida itself, close to Delhi. And here you will be able to. This is a kind of a mobile robot, which is used for a cleaning, better than the manual workforce. So you can, Google out and see many of these startups. May go to the next one. So, I can go on and on and on, but I had to stop somewhere. So some of these tech startups, I just listed it. There's a Bion Ventures, which is on used a genetic and microbiome testing. There is Hero, Cardiolord, which is patient voice recording. There is the Diagemi for a edutech platform. There is Epiguard, which is for or Epi Shuttle, which is to transport the patients, and without being in contact with that. There is a Haystack Analytics, which is incubated in IIT Bombay, which understanding the virus transmission patterns, and there are several. So you could see that there is a several possibilities, and even the research institutes and others, they have been helping towards that. So let me come to the conclusion slide. And there is a need and opportunity for a pharmacist to be utilized across the global health areas. And to fight against the COVID-19, our shield is the healthcare systems. And, the pharmacists are our soldiers, and healthcare professionals. They are the frontline workers. And, we can address these needs through our kind of a startups. So just to give you some more information, we have a lot of schemes, which you can apply on those schemes. May I go to the next one? So I'll just, give you just the glimpse of it. So the future of the role of the pharmacist amid this COVID is that, we can help in the vaccine development, we can help in the clinical trials, we can also help in the immunization, like if given as kind of a permissions. And in many countries there are also screening the patients. And the especially the hospital pharmacy masters and the clinical pharmacology are the one, who it can work and can help in a different countries to overcome this kind of a pandemic. May I go to the next slide? There are a lot of schemes which I'll not go in detail. You can Google yourself. There is National Science and Technology Entrepreneurship Development Board. There is a Atal Innovation Mission, which is promoting a lot of startups, and there are a lot of fundings which you can look into. May go to the next one. There is BIRIC, under which a lot of funds has been available. There is MSME, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Since as I mentioned to you, there are a lot of are tech based, and you can get this funding also from this ministry. Whenever you are making any device and wanted to do that. May I go to the next one? MSME is the next one, Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. There are a lot of schemes under the SME divisions, ARA divisions, and there is a lot of state governments and individual state governments like Gujarat is doing, Delhi is doing, and even in your city, you would find the government, which has been funding with that. So with these words, I would like to end up my presentations. Go to the last slides. So as a pharmacist, I think, it's our duty to help, and there is a lot of scope. There was a lot of scope earlier. There is more of a, need to have these kind of startups now in this area. So with these words, I would be happy to take any questions if you have. And let me look at the chats also.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am, for such an informative and knowledgeable session. Now it is time to take the queries of the participants. We have some queries, ma'am.
Right. Should I look into those queries?
No, ma'am. Should I ask you?
Yeah,
no,
yeah. Okay.
I will ask you. Should I start? asking queries, ma'am?
Sure, sure, sure.
Yes, ma'am. First query is from Dr. Shelly Das. She's asking, where can I find healthcare startup details?
I think my entire presentation is on healthcare startups only. And what kind of a details she wanted? I think probably she must have asked the query before because
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. She has
because I have addressed the health
yes, ma'am.
query.
Yes.
In detail about anything else, you need to know, probably you can still raise
Okay.
the hands, but I mentioned you about, a lot of fundings which has been available, and you can just Google out and find out, what are the Indian healthcare startups which has been come up. So that's not a kind of a rocket science. Just, once you have become aware and you wanted to look into these streams, just Google out, which is the health tech, what is Unicom, what are the fundings available. Plethora of information is available. The only thing is that, sometimes, being in pharmacy, we never think about that, we can start up your own company. So that is what my, aim is, that you should start thinking that you can own it. And that's the reason, I mentioned to you all about is that 31 years is the average age, not 50 or 41 when you can have your kind of. And there are a lot of youngsters, 22, 23, 24, coming up with a lot of technologies. Similarly, like, currencies, Bitcoin, this has also been done by somebody of 31 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
Years old.
Yes, ma'am. The second next query is from Dr. Saptrishi Sen. He's asking, what are the education and pharmaceutical and healthcare startups that beginner can opt for? Beginner
Uh,
for beginner.
I think this question also I addressed it. So in the beginning, like, if you are working towards the community, there are a lot into a e-pharmacy and something like, you look into innovator, what kind of a solutions and offering they are doing. So I think there is a lot of scope in electronic medical records and this other. So as a pharmacist, you can help in achieving that, and lot can be done into a diagnostic area and health insurance, which is also going to grow. If you wanted to go to a product sides, yes, definitely, in devices, yes, there are devices, but maybe alone you can't make some kind of a devices. If you have an idea, you can collaborate with the counterparts with some engineering background or bioengineering background. And if you're into diagnostics, that also, can be done if you have a biotechnology background. If you have a formulation background, yes, there are products, you could still look into that. And some products like a sanitizer and these things, even in our own university, when there is a first wave, our startups, has made, one was working, in collaboration with Bangalore and on some ventilator model, although it has not become very, very successful because it's very complex. There was a one, who has worked on sanitizers and HOCl and sanitization of surface and others. And our entire university is being kind of sanitized with that, something like a robots and all these kind of a thing. And this technology we have used also in the DRDO. There are someone which has come up with the products like immunity boosters. So a lot of them work with the immunity boosters. Immunity booster was a easy because you can't come up with the clinical trials and others area. So the products like with the holistic healing like Ayush and others, you could do that. There are a lot of ideas I've given you about the mental health, wellness. As a counselor, you can work and make some app and can work in that area. So there are a lot of opportunities.
Yes, ma'am. These next two queries are related to MSME. These are almost same. First query is, in what ways MSME can help to set up a healthcare organization?
MSME, helps in many ways. MSME is that, small, medium enterprises. So even if you set up your formulation unit, if even if you're a female, about 90% of your funding you can get from MSME. So you have to have an idea and you have to submit your proposal and you have to say that, how it is impacting this kind of a thing. There are a lot of companies which has been done by that. A lot of cosmetic companies, you see new one being funded by MSME. And if you open it up, you would see the site of MSME. Just look into the site of MSME. You'll see how many companies they've been funded, and you must be encouraged. They will find out You can go with any of these kind of a product, or the formulations or a device, anything.
Yes,
Very
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Related to this is what are the various startups that can be created? Pharmaceutical and healthcare startups
um,
options.
I think that also they must have asked earlier, because I have explained
Yes, ma'am.
number of
Yes,
startups. It
yes,
can
ma'am.
be, to summarize it, it can be either a product, either can be a product plus service, product plus
Yes,
service plus information.
yes, ma'am. And the other query is herbal product manufacturing unit startup is profitable in pandemic situation?
Yes, definitely. I think there are, you see, the market is full of nutrition. Everything we sell is immunity booster. Go and just get inspired by Patanjali. I think I also got so much inspiration from a Patanjali. Every product, if you see, and it has come up nicely. You talk about amla, you talk about bale, you talk about giloy, you talk about aloe vera, you talk about the healthy drink, in the form of the delicious one also for the children. You talk about Macau, you talk about all these companies, you talk about Multani Pharma, you talk about the Hamdard, you talk about Dabur, you talk about Himalaya, everybody has come up with a product. So that's a great source of inspiration. It's a lot of opportunity, and everybody has been coming with that. And you can certainly do it, and do it in a little innovative way in our nutrition. So a lot of scope.
Yes, ma'am. The other query is what are the nutraceutical startup investment opportunities in India?
A lot of them, I think it's the same question, a
Yeah,
similar
yes, ma'am.
question in
What
a
same?
different form. So
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think answer remains the same.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, the other query is why Eastern India, especially Kolkata, is having low startups?
Uh, Political, I can't answer you that. Every state has their own kind of a thing, and I think in this platform I don't want to say anything and specific. I don't have any kind of answer, but it's very state driven. You would see Hyderabad has become a really a hub, because there are a big startups. You looking at Hyderabad, since I was in a part of a policy formation with the Delhi government, and when Delhi was setting up us a startup, so we looked into Andhra Pradesh and Hyderabad, the way they had made their setup. So we copied their model. Similarly, the Bangalore has got a lot of these IT kind of startups. So similarly, I think probably in Kolkata there is a lot of political movements which has been happened, which is not given its focus. As such, we don't see many of the industry which is there in Kolkata. So probably, it's a time, it's for the youngsters to think of any kind of a startup. So I don't have any, I might be wrong also, but I tried to just answer whatever I could.
And the last query is, ma'am, what are the education startups we can start regarding pharmaceutical technology when PCI has banned opening of new colleges for 5 years?
Absolutely. It's full of it. Like, I think sometimes in a Lloyd or somewhere I've given a presentation on all edutech health tech, health tech startups. Lot of opportunities. Why? Because now students, you can't do a practicals, and we don't have any means. How do you do a practicals? So similarly, if you see in the Western world, specifically in a physiotherapy area, in a medical area, where on anatomy, physiology, there are certain kind of technologies which has been available through the PubMed, through the 3D structuring, through a lot of kind of a things, a lot of technology which can be applied to make them understand, to do a kind of a demonstration, to kind of a repeat of these kind of things. So a lot has been kind of a possible, a lot of opportunities. I think, especially in a pharmacy, we need to grow in this sector. But again, I can't answer you about the PCI. PCI is headed by my friend only, close friends. We were classmates with that. They are doing a lot, in this area as well. They have their limitations, because when you are talking about the quality education, although I think I must congratulate the PCI, because the the pharmacy practice which they have allowed and which they have done. So they have made few hubs. So any nearby college or university can use those hubs where the students can go, at least have a feel of pilot plant. Since I also spent my 15 years with the industry, and I see it's so difficult to train any of the person from from educations to the industry, because roughly there's no time. And even if you're at that particular moment, since I had soft corner for the university, but even when I was spending half an hour of mine, the we were being paid so highly that the industry used to think that it's a waste of our time. So they never used to allow it. They were telling that, okay, it's your time, you would be doing your extra time, but actually you're using your energy. So that means if you're using your energy to think about the university training, at the same time, maybe it's your rest time, but then you are not ready to think about our business at that moment. So no industry allows that. Although whatever we talk about industry academia relationship or partnership, it's not a true partnership in any way in India. It can happen only if the academics give them, although it's a different yeah, discussion. So I'll stop it over here. So I think I answers the questions in a whatever capacity which I could do it, and it has been satisfactory. But in case if there is any other query, I'll be happy to answer. You can write in a chat box.
Yes, ma'am. Another query is, ma'am, which one field of research have major opportunities for pharmacy, especially MS students?
I think opportunities
In the field of research, ma'am.
in particularly in research.
Yes, ma'am.
Area. See, if you talk about in pharmacy, there is a lot of opportunity, which I don't say in research, but in a drug regulatory field. Regulatory is the number one, because it's becoming very, very complex. And again, the quality assurance is the one which is also gaining a lot of importance, because everything is about the validation, about the the plant. Although we have not understood that much, but everything, 20% of the pharmaceuticals which are being used in India, but rest 80% is being exported by most of these companies. So when you are doing exports, the quality validations and others, it's become a imminent need. So QA is very, very important. Although traditionally in a history, since I am also from a pharmaceutical, we've seen that the formulation people, they are somehow being trained in all the fields, right? So one of the unfortunate thing is that the university does not make industry ready masters. So talking from an industry point of view, they take all the masters as one, whatever field, and they train them to go into their kind of a field. So as such, wherever you have got a passion, you should do that. And wherever, you think is opportunity, you should be working on that. So it's a mixed answer, and probably because there is no clear cut answer with that.
Ma'am, the same participant is asking again, is it a good step to go abroad for MS in pharmacology?
See, it's always a good step if you are, adding your knowledge, in whatever parts of a world. In pharmacology, particularly, you have to be mentally prepared that in pharmacology is a field where you have been competed by, the all healthcare professionals. So the medical professionals in pharmacology, you had been competing with them, and their pharmacology setup is a little different than in ours. So after the masters in pharmacology, where you wanted to go is in a research, or is in a hospital, or is it in a industry, or you want to come back and work over there? There are a lot of questions for which the answers would be different.
I think all the queries are over, ma'am. You have answered all the queries. Thank you for addressing the queries of the participants so nicely, ma'am. Now it is the time to conclude the session. in this session second of the STTP phase 4, we got a detailed knowledge on the healthcare startups in India and the options that are available to us. The reasons, various reasons why there is boom in the startup in India, and we have found that it is generating the largest sector of the employment and revenue generation. And we found that there is great opportunities for the stakeholders in the healthcare associations in Indian Healthcare Association. And we understood that the extension of healthcare setups in the every corner of nation is a major challenge. The major challenge is to reach the every corner, and the technologies, especially artificial intelligence and many more, are helping in the evolution in this sector. And in conclusion, finally, we found that the innovative solution should be find out to improve the patient care. How we can improve the patient care, we should find out that. This has been very informative session, ma'am. On the behalf of the AICTE sponsored online STTP organizing team and the participants, I'm very much thankful to you, and for your sparing your valuable time and conducting this session on the topic healthcare startups landscape in India. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. And now it is the time to honor you with the certificate. The soft copy of this certificate will be shortly sent to you via the email, and hard copy we will send through the post, ma'am. Once again, thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed interacting with you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much, participants. Now we will meet again in the afternoon session at 2 p.m. sharp. Thank you very much, everyone.